All right, everybody, welcome back to 62 Impala land.
It's 62 Impala day today.
As you saw, we got the brand new exhaust put on, the two Flowmasters. What are they, single chamber? What are they, three chamber?
Three chamber.
Chamber.
Monstrous, 2 1/4.
3 chamber, 2 1/4
Race car
Flowmasters.
Get that rumble.
Bum, 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 bum.
Mark wants to know, he wants to let people know he's coming.
Because the old mufflers were more of like a stock and they were
Well, one was
kind
like,
of beat up.
one was like this long, and then the other side was like this long. So I don't know.
Yeah, and one of them was,
Their tape measure must have been broken that day. I don't know. But they're both the same size now.
one of them was rotting out, so
Yeah,
it was good to change it anyways.
Looked like it backfired once and kind of split it a little bit.
We've done a little bit.
A little bit. A few items.
We've done a good amount of work, a little bit of miscellaneous stuff that you won't really see
We'll brush over really quick.
from on camera.
It's the tedious little stuff that kind of adds up to a nice quality. You know, when you pop the hood, it's like, oh yeah, it's nice. Other than looking like
Somebody just like threw it all together
an
and
afterthought.
yeah.
Let me show you what we did.
Let's get started. Check it out.
Here it is in all its glory. So as you can see, we're changing the water pump too. Got a whole bunch of comments. People are really concerned about Mark breaking down on the road. We're putting a new water pump on it. So that's why we have that off. You can see what we taken care of here, a couple of the odds and ends. We put the plug wires on it. I still need to adjust them a little bit. We got the bracket on here for the alternator, and then this thing was way oversized for the alternator. So we got it shimmed, all lined up, and we got it flopped over here, you can see, because the water pump's off. And then the AC, same deal. We got the brackets painted, we got it put on there. You can see that little mark there, little squiggly line. I was gonna cut that ear off because when you put it up here, you can get a little bit more travel, but it's so minimal, I don't know if it's worth cutting off, so I'm just gonna leave it. So once we get the water pump on, we can finish up that. We got the pulleys off. We had to touch up the dampener here a little bit because if you know the stock dampeners, they have little nipples on them because the original pulleys have slots because there's no center dampener bolt on the early small blocks. So they kind of rely on the pins on the dampener and then the 3 bolts to keep the pulley from spinning on there. So I had to grind the nipples down, and then I did a little touch up on that because obviously it's bare metal. And then we got the wires on here. I don't know if I just mentioned that.
You did just mention
I
that.
did just mention that. And we got our throttle here. We got our new bushings in it. It turned out really nice. We had to shorten this a little bit. It was a little long and it was hitting the arm here. So we got that cleaned up, got it painted, new bushings. We got this is a new Holley bracket. It normally comes with a spot up here for a cable operated throttle. So we cut that off for the cable operated because we're just using it for the TV cable. And then we had to paint it. It comes with a zinc, kind of like the throttle arm here, but being that we ground on it, we just painted the whole deal. So we got the TV cable all adjusted. This cable was really long, shortened it up. We got our return spring here tucked in the back, which pulls on the bottom, so it pulls the throttle closed. So it's tucked away instead of being up here in the way. It's all back here. We got our coil on it. I was working on the fuel line. I don't really like this fuel line. It wound up being a little long and it kind of blocks this fitting. I was thinking about making this fitting at 90 and then come in to meet up with the water pump line. I don't know, I still don't like the way this looks, but we might use it. We'll see. We might change this here to a 90 first and see what it looks like. So when you go full throttle, we want the TV cable to be fully extended. So we got that adjusted. So the line pressure and everything's gonna be right. They call it TV cable because it's the throttle valve. So it changes the pressure in the transmission, and that's what determines your shift firmness and when it shifts and everything. So this is really critical on a 700 for this whole geometry, you know, bracket spacing and everything, and the way it pulls to be correct on a 700 and get it to work right. So this bracket is the right placement of a factory of where it should be. It's really important. So if you're on a 700, keep that in mind. You don't want to have some zip tied bracket back here to the intake or something goofy. You need to have the right bracket. You can see here everything works great here. We got, you know, nice smooth full throttle, cruising ready. This is getting on the on ramp right there. Just rolling down the road, no biggie. Got a vacuum line got a new vacuum line to our booster. Got that straightened out, and then you can see we got our spacer in here, our 1/2-inch phenolic, our 4-hole. The carburetor bolted down. We got the fitting in the intake over here. You can see it looks like it's touching. It's got probably put like a 50,000 filler gauge or something there. It's tight, but we got our PCV valve here hooked up. So that's just some of the odds and ends that we've we've been playing with while you've been away, while you've been gone. We're gonna put our water pump on here. We got some new pulleys because we had to go to a double groove on the water pump. Let me grab the water pump and we're gonna get it going together. Let's see this. Got a water pump here. We got it all painted up, man, all gleaming. Got a little dirt on it. And we already cleaned our old gaskets off of there. And you can see on the old small blocks it has a little bypass deal, but the gaskets come, both of them have it. So I just like to trim the one so it doesn't have the piece hanging below. When you put it on, you can kind of see it. I don't know. I'm a geek like that, I guess. I don't know, whatever. And we've got a different assortment of bolts because we have this bracket with a shim on this side, and then we have this bracket on this side, which normally has a stud, but I'm going to use a bolt. So we got a couple different lengths here. So I'm going to try to get this started. I got a couple washers. Normally I put all the bolts in it, but being that the top ones have the brackets, I don't want to put them in and take them back out. So I'm going to put the bottom ones in, and then I'm going to just leave them loose so I can finagle the gasket, because obviously you see it's just going to fall down. So I'm going to have to get it back up, but I'll leave the water pump loose. So I got the water pump now that I can free up my hands. I forgot to say I put some liquid paste on all the threads because they do go into the water jackets. So this guy here is going to hold this bracket, so I got to get my gasket up, and then I got to get this down, and it has a spacer behind it. So put the bolt, spacer, make sure our gasket's in there. Start that one. And then on this side here, I have two washers that I'm going to put behind the bracket because normally this has a stud on it, but I'm just going to use a bolt. I thought this would be a little more surface area to kind of support the bracket. So I'm going to do two of the washers behind here to kind of shim it. Made it. Looks like this bracket is pretty straight, so I think the two washers are going to work out good. And you can see it's a bigger surface area. It matches the water pump. I think it turned out better than just having the stud there. So now I can tighten down the water pump. We got the water pump bolts here all torqued down, all tight. And I just snugged the alternator for right now. You can see the bracket. It looks straight. So it looks like the two washers was the right amount of shim. It's about the thickness of a head of a bolt. So the water pump comes with a shim. I don't think I've ever used one of these shims, but you have the option if you got to space your pulleys to get everything lined up on your water pump. So we're gonna keep it, but I don't think we're gonna use it. So this is a pulley that we got, and this thing is just like, it's like a piece of jewelry. So like we showed before, we're gonna be running electric fans, so we're not running, no mechanical here, so we're just gonna put this pulley on all by itself. And then the water pump, there's different bolt patterns on the small block Chevy, so it has double drilled, you could say. So it has a smaller bolt pattern, would be this one and this one. What is it? Yeah, that one and that one, I mean. That one and that one.
Ah, yes, that one and that one.
That one and that one. You see it?
Yeah,
Did you see it?
I get it now.
I knew you saw it. Just because it has a whole bunch of holes doesn't mean they're all the same, so we're lined up. Look at that, what do you think? So here's the triple groove crank pulley. So it's a short water pump, triple groove, the same brand. I can't remember the brand. I think it's Built Specialties. As you remember, the other one was missing this center groove, which runs the air conditioning. So we're gonna put our lower crank pulley on now. And now that we massaged our little nipples here on our crank, so now this will go up all the way tight. So got a crank pulley put on. We had to shorten the bolts that came with it because they'll bottom out into this dampener is not like the newer ones that the bolt holes just go all the way through. So we had to shorten the bolts up. Other than that, fits like a champ. You see we got our belts here laid out. These are the original belts that were on it. Of course, after I said it, that I never used the shims, we had to shim it. We had to shim the water pump pulley. We put the one in there that it came with, but it's not quite enough. So we got to add a little more shim to the water pump. And then we shimmed the power steering. It needs a hair more. It's still back a little bit, and then it's going to rub this alternator belt. So we're going to bring this out a hair more, but we're going to get new belts. We're just using the original ones for a mock-up and check. The one for the compressor is not long enough. I tried to use the alternator one to check this guy, but this one's not long enough, so we gotta get a belt. That's pretty much all we're gonna do with that. Also, I forgot to mention that I cleaned up the harness. Remember that I said that the old generator wires that we didn't need, because this is a one-wire alternator, so we don't need nothing. We just have the charge wire, which I'm probably gonna run over to the starter. And the one that came with it, the charge wire should be long enough, and it'll be cleaner instead of coming all the way around up front. And then you can see I took out the external generator, or external regulator, I mean, for the generator. And then I put this grommet in here for the horn harness because it was running through here, which was fine with the factory radiator. It had a space, but now that the condenser is going in here, it mounts off of this, and it was going to pinch the wire. So we got that moved, and then we got this cleaned up, and we got a new power wire ran in the harness. We got to finish it up. This here is going to go to the battery terminal, and that's what feeds the hole inside. It feeds the internal fuse box inside the car. So now we're going to move on. We're going to put the radiator in it. The condenser goes in first. It uses the same mounting points on the condenser, which is really trick. So we got it right here. So you can see we got the receiver dryer. We got the brackets on it here. We got it mocked up. So it's going to go over like so. And it has a hard line. Goes from the receiver dryer to the condenser. And then we have the pressure switch in the receiver dryer. You want to keep this minimal to any air, oxygen, moisture getting in here. This is all vacuum sealed when you get it. So you don't want to open it all up and just have it open to the atmosphere. It'll get moisture in there, and AC system's not going to work like it should. So we got the brackets on here. We got this all tightened down. So the condenser just goes in here. The receiver dryer goes to the front. So you kind of got a little snake it in, but it's pretty cool. It just uses the original mounts. So you see it fits in there really nicely. I just used a couple bolts because, like I said, it uses the factory mount. So when I put the radiator in there, I'm gonna have to hold it and then start one at a time. So let me grab the radiator here. We showed it to you before. Got an aluminum deal with the fans on it. Stock replacement. A little dusty from sitting around. We'll get it cleaned up. You see, it uses the same deal. So we'll put it up in here. It's almost like a two-person job with my assistant. It's really slacking right now.
Well, sorry that I have to stand here and hold the camera.
So I'm going to set this on the gearbox for uno momento. And then I'm going to grab it on the bottom here. See if I can do this. Don't laugh. So what we got here? We got a couple different holes. So we're going to use the upper. I think I'm going to use the upper hole.
Stay.
Oh. Look, Ma, no hands. Ha ha.
You get it?
Of course I did. I'm a professional.
Psych! You are not a professional.
So I think this is the first time we put this good old radiator in here. The two on, the 4 out of the 6 work out. So these upper 2 fit like a champ. But the lower ones here, I need to pull the radiator back out and give it a little massage here. I could probably cram them in there, but then it's just gonna put unneeded tension on the side deal, because these are gonna be pushing down and that was gonna be pushing up. Not the right way to cut the enchilada. So I gotta pull the radiator back out. So we're gonna do the same song and dance again. We'll just take it all the way out, I guess.
Moment of truth.
Bum, bum, bum. Look at that. Like it never happened. Got a radiator put in, our condenser. Everything turned out really good after we had to give it a little massage. Good to go. So we got our hose. This is the one that came on the car. It looks like it's in good shape. It's got this stupid sticker on here though. The sticker doesn't want to come off. Give it a little trim. This radiator must be a tad thicker or something, but the hose was a little squashed. So we trimmed both sides a little bit. So we're gonna get our clamps on here. And I don't like the clamps when they have the end hanging way out. So what I do is I put the clamps on and I get an idea how far it's gonna stick out. So I count the little spots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, I want a little bit sticking out. So I'm gonna cut off 7 of the ribs. So I'm gonna take it back off now. So I get to 7 and I cut it right in the crack, like so, and then I give it a little trim to make it look like it's factory. See? It's factory, bolts right on.
You didn't even show it to me.
Hold on, I got a little.
You gave me a quick tease.
Well, you know.
What did you just say?
You know what happens. All right, see? Trim it, see, it just looks factory. Then you put it back on, and it doesn't look like you can't measure a hose clamp. Make sure that we're all straight and everybody's happy, like so, and we'll tighten it down. See? And it comes out just at the end. It doesn't have a big old long hanging, like you don't know how to measure a hose clamp. So you see which one you like better. You like all this hanging out? Or do you like it like this? Which one do you think looks cleaner? Which one? 1, 2. 1, 2. So I got both clamps trimmed up. I might replace this one. This one's kind of ugly, but for right now I got it trimmed. Got it trimmed and on there. So next we have our template here. We got to drill a hole in the core support for our 2 AC lines here to come through the core support. So we got to get the grill out of the way in order to hold the template up. So you have to take out the headlight bezels here and then just the grill to get here because it's down on the bottom of the core support. We're gonna go into a little bit of a time lapse. We set you up here. We're gonna take it out real quick here. So as you can see from the time lapse, we got the whole, not the whole thing, we got the grill out of it. So we got to put a hole over here with the hole saw. We got to do 1.25 inch hole, and we got it marked here on the inside, down here at the bottom. You got to trust me, it's a small little center punch, but I got it marked. I got it marked on the inside. So we're going to drill the hole now, so we can put, there's 2 hard lines that come, so it can come through the core support. Right there, those 2 lines. Those 2 lines are what we're going to put on next. They go through this grommet in the core support. That's what we're doing. So we got to put a hole in this here core support.
What are you waiting for?
Let's do it. I'm just, it pains me to put a hole in such a cherry car. But it's the price to pay to be cool. When you're being cool, you just got to be cool.
That's really something.
There's my hole, right there's my center punch. I'm just gonna close my eyes and go for it. That line is still open. Here we go, it's about to get real.
Oh my
gosh, I need to put my earplugs in.
Yeah, I think we need earplugs.
Hold on, we need another
This is very loud.
we need another intermission. Might as well get all crazy and put safety glasses on too, I guess. You know why it's smoking? Because the car's so hot. This is the time that you hope you measured right, because that's a big hole to cover up if you got to move it. So I want to keep this thing sealed as I go. So this is the side that goes to the condenser here. And then we're going to have to add an O-ring, and then same with this one. And then according to our instructions, this line is going to be on the inner than this one. So this has little slits in here. We put it on our grommet, about like so. So now I'm going to uncap receiver dryer, and the same with the condenser. And this normally would be under vacuum, but it already lost the vacuum when I put the receiver dryer on it. When I put this line on here and open up the system. So now I'm going to put my O-rings on, and you want to use AC oil is the only thing that you want to use lubing this. So we're going to lube up here, we'll put some oil on our O-ring. Lube that bad boy up. We got to put this all together now. Got to get this in here. We got to get our grommet in there. Hopefully we measured it in the right spot. We're going to pull this nut back, make sure our O-ring going in there all nice and happy. So now I'm going to tighten it up. And because of the O-rings, you don't need to get crazy tight. But make sure you use 2 wrenches. This one here, you got to hold the receiver dryer because it doesn't have 2 nuts for you. So tighten this one down. Turned out pretty good. I think I'm just going to give this one right here a little bit of massage this way, about like so it's straight. The way we did it, we cut out the little template that comes with the instructions, and we set it on top of the core support mount right here.
Well, it doesn't help that the flashlight's in my way.
So we put the template on top of the little core support mount here, and then it lines up with this right radius on the side of the core support. So I'm putting on the high side flex line now. That's going to go to the engine, or it's going to go to the compressor. I found out that I had to reclock the compressor because of the fittings that came with the line. If it would have been a 90 on here, I could have left it the way it was because the high and low were over here. And the instructions, they want this little fill point for the oil, they want it to be no more than 90 degrees. So at least at this point, because it's pretty much touching the valve cover, when I bring the compressor over to tension the belt, it'll be on top, so everybody be happy. So now that I got the compressor reclocked, I got it started over here. This line already has the O-rings in it, and they're already lubed. So this one's still loose over here, so I can still wiggle it. I'm gonna take the high side cap off here on the compressor. It's gonna have a vacuum on it here when I open it up here. So like I said, this O-ring's already lubed and already on here, so we're just gonna get it in a position where roughly where we want it to get it started, and then try to get it to the point where it's holding the line down so that O-ring won't come back up. and you can move it side to side, but you don't want it to cock. Pretty much right there is where, I guess probably we're gonna have it, because if you go any more over, it's gonna be cutting the line on the inner fender. So we might bring it back this way a little bit more, just so when we tension it, it's not gonna ram this line into the inner fender and slowly chafe it. The control arm's gonna come up a little bit, but after I get all these lines and everything in there, I could probably put a clamp on it or do something and bring it up here to the heater hoses. So we gotta see if it's gonna sit on the control arm, because right now the suspension's hanging all the way down. So the upper control arm's gonna come up a little bit. We'll put it here, and we can maybe pull it up over here so it's not on the control arm after we get it all said and done. So I'll leave this at I'll do this at a 90. So I'll tighten it up right here. Then I got these 2 wrenches here, and we're gonna tighten it up where it unions. So the other side, the low side, is gonna go into the evaporator. So next we're gonna have to take the heater box and all that out and get the new box and evaporator and everything inside. So that's as far as we're gonna go on the AC system for right now. Show you what we got going on here, give you a little up to date, keep you posted on the 62, man. This thing's really coming together. So next time we'll finish up the AC. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, come on back, see how it finishes, see how it turns out when we're all done.